Wow, wow. I don't want vagina abs to stick. That sounds so awful.
Daddy, what's that?
Cyborg, I want to point out that you can't say the word wolf. You said night wolf before, and it's pissed me off ever since.
No beta code. I'm surprised.
Not bowing down to the con. That's a paddling.
Hey, Cyrax boy, guess what?
Who the fuck doesn't like Yoshi?
I don't like Yoshi.
What the fuck?
Yoshi.
How do we feel about Tremor? Because I gotta say this. I want to see him come.
Yes, but it's because I'm actually peeing in a bucket at the bottom of my seat. So,
Naitara's design.
You know, you're saying Naitara again.
Oh shit, thank you.
Just let go.
I'm on so many drugs at the moment.
Great. Glad to hear it.
Alright, well, I'm done being serious. We can talk about the taste of cock again. If that's what you guys want to.
Wait.
What?
This is my fucking ass hanging out. What, bitch?
Are we
Guys,
even
not
recording right
understand-
now?
We're not recording, of course not.
wondering.
Nobody's gonna listen to this.
I hear like the sound of like bullets being loaded into a chamber and like shots being fired.
Is it like an air gun? I don't.
I'm hearing like Russian roulette like right up next to the mic. What's going on? Yep. Definitely taking shots with a rifle.
Welcome back to the Nethercast. I am Cyborg and joined as always by Razor's Edge, Shad, and maybe Temp. I don't know. It could be. He might surprise us. Not sure where he's at, but
In the meantime, the role of
Godspeed.
Temp will in the meantime be taken by Shad's sock. Zut alors! J'aime le compétitif! Thank you, Temp.
Yeah.
I feel like the impression needs a little work.
Yeah, sorry. He's just too French. You're fired. Sacre bleu!
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
You don't have to mince words.
Still
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is episode 87, and I want to throw out there, we have a Discord channel, completely free to join. Discord is completely free program, so check out the Discord application. You can do it on your browser or you can download it. It's up to you. It's where we have a lot of discussions going on, a lot of community interaction. You can listen live, and you can come on the show, as well as leave questions for the show. Of course, we got the Facebook group that is closed, so if you ask to join, I will accept you. And Twitter, YouTube, all that fun stuff, iTunes, we're on everything. I think we got a billboard somewhere. Not exactly 100% positive on that one. And if you're into Mortal Kombat forum boards or just want talk competitive stuff, go to testyourmight.com. So now that I got all the plugs and whatnot out of the way, let's get down to the nitty gritty. As I said, this is episode 87. We're getting closer and closer to episode 100. I figure about the time the game is announced and E3 rolls around and we get some stuff to really discuss, we'll probably get there. Anyways,
Wouldn't that be
said-
something? Like, episode number 100 is the MK11 announcement reaction or some shit? I could dig
if we wanted to time it out that way, we'd have to start doing episodes weekly, because I think we only have it's 11 or 12 weeks away from when that announcement would take place if it follows kind of the same time frame as before.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'll probably be episode 100 in September.
Yeah, well, once the game's announced, obviously we'll try and switch back to our more weekly pattern or whatever we can manage. But it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do it weekly when there's no news to discuss. But yeah, I was just saying if we wanted to time it out that way, we certainly could do it like that. Anyways, let's get to some questions here. As far as MK news, did anything come out? I don't think anything came out. MK, Injustice, any of that stuff?
There has been nothing. It's been quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I figured.
We haven't really talked about the mobile game. They're getting Kintaro and eventually Shang and Noob Saibot, I think.
Bully for them, I guess? I don't know. I'm always happy to see Kentaro show up in anything, but it's the mobile game. Is anyone even playing the Injustice 2 mobile game anymore?
Well, I'll say this. their little promo picture of Kintaro is the only time I've ever seen a picture of him with the black nose where he actually looked scary. So, bully on him for that one.
Bully.
Yeah, I guess.
Bollocks. Chap. T.
I'll cut you, mate. I swear on your mom.
I believe you. I won't. I'll
Why?
stop.
How did we go from... Okay, never mind. You know what?
It
Just
doesn't.
never
Yeah,
mind.
let's
It's
just
not
roll on.
It's not important.
That is true. All right, so let's just pick up with the questions then, since we don't really have much else to discuss. So it looks like we got a full backlog of questions once again. We got kind of hit hard over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So we'll try and make a huge dent in this as well. So anyways, starting off with Snake Eyes, we got, what stages would you guys mix? Yeah, I'm already just fucking up. God damn it. All right. Anyways, what stages would you guys mix together, sort of like how the Palace Gardens and the Warrior Shrine were put together in MK9? That's a good question. Man, there's so many stages. That would be hard on the spot.
Honestly, it's more of like, what stage would you kind of sacrifice the identity of in order to enhance another one? Because I'll be honest, I don't disagree with the concept. Like, the Warrior Shrine, the Palace Gardens coming together was a nice one, but I am forever gonna...
I mean, that really only worked because it had already been done by the movie.
Yeah.
I really like that stage, by the way.
I am forever gonna hate the fact that they combined the Pit 1 and the Pit 2 into one stage. I despise it totally.
Well, the problem with that is they don't actually use any elements from the Pit 1 except spikes. Like, the Pit 1 has its own look.
Yeah,
and it's just gone now.
Yeah, it's like nothing. Pit 1 is just nothing. But yeah, no, I agree with you.
So much to like the identity of the stage is its fatality, and yeah, to me it's as good as combine the two together, even if you're just putting spikes in there. But
you've also got what
that stone bridge, that stone bridge.
Yeah, it's a nice flat surface, and it's got those lion statues and the big pyres on either side. Like, I liked the way that looked.
And a completely black, slightly cloudy night, stars in the sky, as opposed to, the kind of overcast look the Pit 2 has.
Yeah, and the bottom had like a wall. It was like, it wasn't just the MK9 one is just fucking spikes in the wilderness. Like, there's nothing down there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess, like, to actually get into the question, you do have, like, Motaro's area, Noob's Dorfin, like, that kind of whole background, foreground thing. If they ever actually did want to revisit that, I wouldn't say no to the kind of busting through the back wall and exploring the entirety of the area. But we probably never will again.
Well, yeah, there was a cool thing going on with the Motaro's Balcony Noob's Dorfin stage, where it was like, there was that pit that leads down into the Soul Chamber.
Yep.
But the thing about combining two stages is that it works better if the two stages kind of sucked on their own and are cool combined. Like the non-playable stage in MK9 where they go to talk to the Elder Gods. It's clearly a mix between the Elder God stage from MK4 and the Nexus from Deception. And the Nexus is bland and dumb, and the Elder God stage is silly and dumb. But what they had in 9 was kind of fucking awesome.
Yeah. I agree in the sense that essentially the only time I'd want to see two stages combined are if they are not iconic enough on their own. So combining them makes for a better stage overall, or it's the only way they can get into the game, as if you combine a couple together. So I agree on that front. But I really did like that Palace Gardens and the Warrior Shrine mashup in MK9. I thought it looked really good, both day and night.
I liked it. I just wish that we hadn't had to lose the Warrior Shrine to get it.
Smokeman asked incidentally what the fuck a Dorfin is. The answer is it's a nothing. It's them fucking with Dan Forden's last name, like they did with Boone and Tobias. They just wanted to like put another main guy's name in there to give him kind of a unofficial, official reverse MK title name scrambled thing. It's a nothing at all.
The thing is, you can do gibberish as a proper name because people are named gibberish. That's how the world works. But for a location, it doesn't make sense.
If I ever start my own segment on these here shows of ours, and like it's nothing but me drunken spewing nostalgic shit about MK, it's going to be called the Dorfin. I hope you're all happy with that.
Yeah, but
But
yeah,
no, I was actually just thinking, kind of like how they've already robbed the portal of any kind of identity, and they don't want to show off the combat tomb ever anymore. It seems you've got two areas right there that kind of are prominently red are afflicted by a large red background. It's all sunset or, I guess kind of post-apocalyptic nuclear area. Anyways, if they really wanted to, I could actually see them having the combat tomb be a smaller subsection of a large portal in the back portal area. That might work.
all right. Well, we'll roll on to the next question here. So Snake Eyes asks another question. Can MK work with a giant screen-filling boss, a la the MVC games? So we had recently talked about Onaga. If he's talking about even bigger than that, I don't know. What kind of ideas do you got that would fill up a screen that size?
I mean, the thing about those giant screen-filling bosses is that those games aren't martial arts themed games. Like, superheroes fight giant shit all the time, and their combats can consist of nothing but haymakers and giant laser beams. There's no really drive to create a villain who can, like, do a fancy karate kick. And that's not Mortal Kombat. MK does have to have the boss be able to, like, demonstrate some kind of knowledge of the martial arts.
I think the problem is more the fact that, like, those games are basically kind of centered around giant, insane air combos. And the whole point is to, like, trash the shit out of this gigantic obstacle in your path while you're doing all these insane quick, like, maneuvers and tag-ins and whatnot. And MK's combo system, like, don't get me wrong, we got a bit of the dialect combo thing going on, but it doesn't really work for that. Like, it's not going to be satisfying to sit there and, like, try to get these things off and, like, 4 or 5 hit maximum combos, because juggling is out of the window when you got something like that going on. And, like, right off the bat, X-rays are going to be useless. So I don't know, man. I don't see it. Not with MK. A large boss that, takes a bit more of a pounding than usual. We have our history with that. We've had Goro, Kintaro, and Motaro, and, their physics don't exactly work like normal characters do, but by the same token, it's still possible to get some things to work on them. I think a giant boss would just be too much. I don't know about needing martial arts expertise, because Motaro certainly didn't do that.
Well, I mean, there is... See, that's the thing. Like, the bosses like Goro and Motaro, they're kind of big and clunky, and there's an argument to be made there that it's spectacle that makes them interesting, and that spectacle is also what makes a giant boss interesting. But honestly, like, fighting Galactus or, like a shapeshifted to be giant Apocalypse, those are actually really kind of boring fights. Like, I don't really like those boss fights in the MVC games.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of destroying a car.
Yeah, you're literally shooting at a wall, and the wall barely reacts, and then it fills the screen with an attack you can't dodge or block, and it's a pain in the ass. It becomes a war of attrition, and that's not really a fun way to play a game.
Yeah, I think I agree on that. I don't think it's a... I mean, I'm not against it if they could find a way to make it happen. I think something like that might be more fun with the 3-on-1 thing like they had in Injustice 2, where you can pal up with, a couple of your buddies, you can team up with them and then fight this wall or whatever. I don't know. Things like that could be fun.
It feels like the kind of thing you'd put in the MK9 tower, the challenge tower.
Sure. All right.
But There is one character you could do that with. The problem is it's the one being, and the one being's lore is that if he's around, everybody ceases to exist automatically.
You've got to find a way to work around that kind of limitation. A quasi-being. A Diet Coke of being. A manifestation of the one being that isn't actually it woken up. The thread of it. A dream shape, if you will.
I guess.
All
Like,
right.
it could be done, it's just...
There you go. How
it's
Shumagarath
hacky.
works in Marvel.
It's hacky writing.
If we can play as Shumagarath, it's true. We can probably play as anyone or fight anyone. Only limits the imagination.
So next up, we got Lando Mac. Do you think NRS will finally get rid of the story mode chapter system they have had for several years, and what changes or improvements would you guys like to see towards story mode for MK11? Now, I'll jump on this first. Do I think they'll get rid of the chapter? Oh my god, I can't talk. Chapter system. There's a T in there. I wish I could like plug a T-shirt or something in there, but we don't have a T-shirt. God damn it. All right, so I don't think they're gonna get rid of the chapter system because it seems to be working for them. I know we have our personal complaints and they, we wish they did it better, but overall, I think from a casual standpoint, I think it draws people in to the game, how they do it. Personally, I would be fine if they just made, like I said before in the past, if they made like an hour and a half, 2 hour story that I can just watch in like DVD form or just on the disc itself, of course, if I could just watch it, that's what I would prefer to do. With Injustice 2, I watched the story mode cutscenes with Temp and Redman before I even played the game. To me, that was the most enjoyable experience to take that in, not getting broken up and doing fights in between the cutscenes. It's a lot easier to consume that way, and I think it was far more enjoyable. So I would prefer, even if they just did this on the disc itself, maybe you just have it so you can just watch through all the cutscenes and you can skip the fights if you want as like a alternative option, but I doubt they'll do something like that. I think they're going to stick with the chapters.
Yeah, I think they'll stick with what we got now. I wouldn't be opposed to just like if they just put animated shorts out instead of having a story mode.
Like Overwatch
like Street
or
Fighter
something.
4 did that, it was
Yeah.
fine.
That would be cool. Yeah, I would be on board for that as well.
I would
Go
just
ahead.
like to have the ability to choose character paths. I know it's a lot to ask, but learning characters, this is why we have tutorial modes, and it's so fucking awkward to just jump from one person to the next. I've gotten used to it, but there's better ways to go about it. And I know it wouldn't be possible to play as absolutely every character under the face of the sun, but hey, it's not like we're doing that right now is it?
Right.
So yeah, just if you're gonna make me play as like the 5 good guys, let me choose one and go down the path with them. That's all I ask.
I mean,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to say
Okay, I'll go.
there are
No, I'm just
problems.
Problems indeed.
Who's talking right now?
kidding. No, you got it.
Are
All
you
right.
sure?
Anyways, as I was saying, you got it. It's all you, buddy.
All right. So
As I was
there
saying,
are... God damn it!
I'm just kidding. You got it. You got it, buddy.
I can't. You're gonna make me forget what I'm trying to fucking say.
Here, let me just get my points out then, and then you can jump in because I think we're gonna cover
All right.
some of the same stuff. So, the main issues I have with the chapter system is, as Chad was alluding, you're gonna make us play all the characters. To me, it is not beneficial for me to play a character for 3 fights. I still go back to when I was playing through the MKX story mode on stream, and I had Razor just basically saying I'm doing awful because I suck. I mean, you can't learn combos. You can't make the thing look pretty in that short amount of time that you're playing that character. So what's even the point? We have a tutorial system if you want that. Just let us... I don't want to have to play a character for 3 fights that I'll never touch again. It's not fun to continually have to press pause to learn what special moves I can do. That is not how I want to experience my story mode. Having to continually pause to even learn how to play that character is just, taking away from the experience. And the second problem I have with chapter systems, which we've all mentioned before and all griped at, that is that inevitably it means that most of your villains are just going to be jobbers throughout because you're playing as the character that's winning that fight. So usually you play as the heroes for 95% of the time. So the fact that you're always going to beat the villains kind of makes those villains just look stupid. They look weak. They look dumb. They look like fools. It's the reason why Reptile and Ferritor, etc., and Baraka and all of them just always get their ass kicked is because they're just there for fodder as you're playing through the story with the heroes. If you could at least switch sides more like they did with Devora and stuff like that, it might help that along, but I just don't see that happening either.
Yeah. Yeah, see, the thing is, no matter what method you use for your story mode, there's going to be, like, some fatal flaw. Like, the system we have now with chapters, the problem is that, first of all, it doesn't always make sense narratively to follow a single person for exactly 4 fights. For example, in MK9, that game was about tournaments, so you had shit like Johnny Cage fighting twice in a row at the beginning. Like, that's not how a bracket works, man.
Yeah.
Baraka just got a bye to the second. Everybody just got a bye to the second round so that Johnny could fight twice.
Remember that part of the tournament where, like, both Shang and then Quan Chi came in? Mumble, something about a deadly alliance. I guess that was an endurance round?
Yeah, what the... And, like... Like, Scorpion's entire chapter is, like, open challenges. Like, is he even in the tournament?
Plot twist. Shang was drunk on rice wine the entire time. What round is it?
Yeah, it's
8?
just not...
Sure, go.
It's not ideal for any sort of storytelling system or learning the characters or any of that. So the reason why they do it the way they do it just doesn't... It doesn't add up. They should just tell the story they want to tell and have you play the fights as they come if you want. Or, like I said, I just prefer own cinematic, and then you can just do the tutorial if you want to learn the characters.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna say is that, like, I'm still, like, as dumb as Street Fighter V story is, I'm still a proponent of the way they did their mode, where you were a different character almost every fight. Like, you're not gonna learn anyway. There's no point in pretending it's a training mode. So who cares if you jump around or not? It's the exact same experience.
And that's where the challenge tower could come into play, doing it that way too.
Yeah. Except if you jump around like every other fight, and sometimes you're playing as the villain because the villain gets to win that fight, like Street Fighter did, then at least you're telling a story that makes sense. Even if the gameplay doesn't necessarily make sense. So that's... And I mean, there is also the Bloody Roar or the Deadly Alliance conquest method, where you get to pick your character and you only see that character's story. And that has a lot of advantages, because for one thing, you're actually the same character the whole way through. So learning how to play that character isn't that difficult. You're, on task the whole time. You're not suddenly forced to learn a new guy after 4 fights.
That's all I ask.
But it also has the downside of when you're following just one person's perspective, and then you go through the roster and you play every single person's story mode. Now you have to figure out how they fit together chronologically on your own.
See, it's not that hard.
It's not.
Guilty Gear did it, BlazBlue did it, and it was just not that hard. There are going to be repeating fights, things that overlap between X or Y character, and you put it together that way.
The thing is, after 20-some years of dealing with people who couldn't understand simple bios and endings, I'm not willing to approve of something that makes it even more complicated for those people. The casuals who have to have someone do the math for them.
Oh, fuck the casuals. You don't learn if you're not presented with anything challenging.
They're not going to learn anyway. That's the problem. There's no... Just fucking hand them the cookie on the platter. Don't make them work for it. I'm tired of explaining things to people. I'm tired of being the guy who teaches stuff. I just want it to be easy. I just want people to get it on their own. So just do a story mode so that they don't have to figure out how the puzzle pieces fit.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stand vehemently against that and let it go. Next up.
Yep. So next question we got is from MK Trilogy Chameleon. If NetherRealm Studios were to ever introduce a third IP, what would you personally like to see them do? It doesn't have to be a new fighting game.
I just kind of want to see them buy the Eternal Champions license, to be quite honest. Okay, no, seriously. I mean, everyone's got that mat on for their horror franchise. I guess that's probably the winner by default.
Yeah.
I don't personally care, but I can see the mass crossover appeal for it.
I don't have any interest in them picking up a third franchise. I just want them to do Mortal Kombat side games when they have free time. You know, do more Shaolin Monks. Don't do The Grid or Terradrome.
Are you saying no to a future Grid? Dude, no. The Grid was amazing.
If they... I don't know, man. It's...
Nobody played The Grid.
I don't know if what The Grid was.
It would never work.
We have arena shooters. We don't need more shooters.
Shit posting time. Bring back War Gods. Chrome. Really? That's your contribution?
Hey, you started the whispering, bud. Anyways, I'm with you guys in that I don't have a particular desire to see another franchise or another IP that they take on. I wouldn't be opposed. Like, if I'd have one other thing that they tackle, I think I would like to see a horror fighting game. But then again, I don't really need or feel the desire to take on another fighting game. To me, MK and Injustice are the fighting games that I like to play. They're the ones I'm best at, and I'm not even that great at them, but they're the ones that I do the best at and have the most fun playing. So Marvel vs. Capcom, Tekken, those are all fun as well, but they don't come close to MK or Injustice for me. So I don't really need to see them take on another fighting game IP. If they do a horror one, I would be along for the ride and, have fun with it, I'm sure. I'd like to see what different things they do to make it unique compared to Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Obviously, they would go try and do their own new control scheme and all their new gimmicks and whatnot, just like they did to separate Injustice from Mortal Kombat. So that would interest me, and obviously being a horror fan and a fan of those characters and what stages and all that, I would be digging it for that. But beyond that, I don't really feel the need to have that, and nor do I need any other third IP to come into the mix. I agree with Razor that give me Mortal Kombat, give me Injustice, and then, if you can pump out a side Mortal Kombat game like another Shaolin Monks, etc., I'd be cool with that too. But
Randy,
I don't.
Randy Cool suggests a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting game, and I hope that people out there actually enjoy the Ninja Turtles in Injustice 2. I've not touched them yet, but I've got to say, that idea does seem kind of cool to me. I was a really big fan of the old SNES and Genesis TMNT fighters, and it is pretty bizarre that there hasn't been a new fighting game since then. Time is pretty much right for it.
It was a Smash Brothers knockoff a couple years ago.
Yeah, see, thing is, I don't know if I don't remember that thing. Was it extensive to have like 30 characters? Because
the
Ninja
Turtles franchise doesn't have 30 characters.
Yes, it does, you utter crackhead.
What?
Seriously? I can start with Usagi Yojimbo. I can bring in the fucking guys from Dimension X. I could go on for 5 minutes. It doesn't have 30 main characters, but god damn, it really could fill up that roster.
Yeah, I guess you could have like 5 different Triceratons, give them all their own first name, whatever.
What the hell was that? Was that a crusty laugh?
Christ. Taka, Ryzar, fucking... How many unique characters in the Archie comics line were there?
Slash,
and don't tell me that no one cares about the Archie comics because that was the shit for 15
Shredder,
years.
the Foot, the
Tiger
Hand,
Claw, April O'Neil.
April.
How many forms of kunai? 2 forms of Baxter Stockman.
Casey
Wanna keep
Jones,
going?
the Turtle
Casey
Van.
fucking Jones.
The turtle
Don't
van
fuck
is
with-
not a character.
Yes, it is.
The Turtle Van. The Turtle Van is just like the car in Street Fighter, except it throws really hard pizzas at you that break your knuckles, and then your mom has to take you to the hospital. You don't fuck with that Turtle Van toy.
The big purple dragon leader, Hun. You're talking about Hun.
Hun, yes. And yes, Armagon, that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Jaw.
you're listing a lot of names that are the equivalent of Baraka, is what I'm saying.
Not to Ninja Turtles fans, and there are enough of those.
It's
Trust
kind of
me
like
on
when we
that.
talked about the horror franchises. You could really dive deep into your
Yeah,
C's
yeah,
and
you
D
could-
listers, but is that really ideal? Probably not.
You-
Now, there's
you could
nothing
include
saying...
Goldberg as evil Santa, but who cares?
Well, I mean, there's nothing saying that they can't do a cheaper game, like, say, make it $30 and then just have a smaller roster. You can certainly
for me,
do
it's
something
about
like that.
it's about like the resources they'd have to devote to it, because like Netherkast is only large enough to make one game every 2 years.
Right. I agree.
That's
I would
what
not-
it is.
I would not put this above a new Mortal Kombat. I don't think I'm insane. It's just that just thinking about the notion of NRS putting out a TMNT game just kind of sounds like one of those really idly dreamy, cool things that I'd like to see happen, that I probably would not actually play. Yeah, they did another game that was like that recently. Oh yeah. Oh well.
All right.
Also, it's like sometimes
fucking A,
sometimes
look,
when
I'm
a
gonna
developer sometimes a developer puts out a budget title and you're like, it's just disappointed, because it's like, oh, Platinum's doing a beat 'em up, and then I played Legend of Korra and it's like, I wish Platinum hadn't made this beat 'em up.
What the hell?
You
Their
know, like,
Transformers game was good.
that's what Platinum does. They make great beat 'em ups, but sometimes, you know, they put out the $30 one and it's like, well, that was a waste of their time and mine.
Sure. I get you. And then sometimes you get like a PUBG.
Like a TMNT game.
You get like PUBG
Being brought up
Battlegrounds, and
right now.
it blows up to be like the most popular thing, and it's
Yeah,
only $30.
that wasn't made by like a studio that was in the middle of other projects. PUBG was made by a bunch of like
Independent dudes, but yeah. I know
like
what you're
just
saying.
that was their one project, and they sat there for years building it.
And it was just like a mod of another game. But yeah, you're right. I'm just saying it's not impossible to have a cheaper game that is successful and grows, like a community grows around it. It's not impossible for it to do that, but yeah, I don't know. I still am skeptical if they can actually make like a horror fighting game that's really fleshed out for $60. But I see where you're coming from with the there's plenty of Ninja Turtle characters. You could squeeze 20, 25 and call it a day if you really wanted to.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. So next up we got Red Viper, who asks, what things would you guys like to see included in MK11's Collector's Edition? A new fight stick, steelbook, character-specific covers like Deception and Armageddon, statues, art book, exclusive skins, and content, just as some examples. See, that's a shame, because I think back to MKX, and I'm the type of dude that if I'm a big fan of a franchise, you know, the Mortal Kombats, the Halos, etc., the things that I really follow very hardcore like, I want those collector's editions because I love the little statues you get and that kind of crap. I'm a sucker for that. I will easily pay out $200 for a collector's edition if I think the statue looks cool, just because I bought the Halo 5 Xbox One, just because, I gave somebody else, I sold my other Xbox One just so I could get some money towards the Halo edition one, but just because it looks cool. I like things like that. I like supporting the companies that put out the content that I enjoy and that I've been a fan of for many years. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is with Injustice 2 and MKX, they didn't do that. They put out that tiny little scorpion statue that was like that really stylized one. Shad, didn't you get that?
I got the black and gold one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, yeah.
They did a couple. They did that one, and they did the really gigantic motherfucker that, like, tilted forward on his tippy toe.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I guarantee you guys that motherfucker broke.
Wasn't that a UK thing, though? I feel like that one
was.
Yeah. Because I would have gotten that one, even though I don't feel any need or desire to have Scorpion stuff. I'd rather other characters that I don't already have stuff for. I mean, I have the bookends, the Scorpion and Sub-Zero bookends. I have some of the action figures.
I still use those things.
Yeah, I have them up on my shelf being displayed. I have I have some Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the Shaolin Monks figures that looked really nice. Like, I have that kind of stuff. And I have the Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition arcade stick that they put out with MK9. I mean, that's how crazy.
I put down like $500 in anticipation of the damn K9 came out, man. I got like the collector's edition.
Yeah.
I got the arcade edition.
I got both.
A friend of mine gave me the fucking Steelbook. So much money.
That's kind of how I did it too, except for I bought the tournament edition, but I also wanted the bookend, so I found somebody else that wanted the game that I knew from college, and he wanted the game, but he didn't want any of the special stuff. So I said, hey, if you get the collector's edition, which comes with the bookends, I'll, if you get that, I will buy, I'll pay you the difference for the bookends, and you can keep the Ermac skin as like a bonus because I was already going to get it in the tournament edition anyways. So yeah, that's a win-win. I had to have all the stuff too. So that's my point, is I was disappointed with MKX and Injustice 2 because they didn't really do any great elaborate collector's edition. It was just, here's the game with the season pass. Like, that's what they're doing now, and they'll throw in maybe a steelbook if you're lucky. To me, that sucks. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I appreciate getting the season pass, but it's not like you're saving a whole lot by going that route anyways. You could just buy the season pass separately and pretty much pay the same.
For me, it's kind of the opposite of the things that Red Viper named. A new fight stick wouldn't be a terrible idea because, I mean, it's a new generation. It's been a very long time since 2011, and sure, why not? I could deal with that.
If it was a really good fight stick, though, I'm not a fan of the Mortal Kombat button layout. Like, I do not like that.
I am. I could always use another one. I grew up with that shit.
Yeah.
I don't even know like who the big provider is now that Mad Catz is, I think, bankrupt.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, Steelbook they're always nice. Never my first choice, but if there's nothing else, I'll ultimately get one.
Wasn't it like PCP or something like that? What was that called? That company?
I think that's a drug.
No, I'm aware that it's a drug. I'm just saying the company that put out the tournament edition fight stick, it was like something PDP. There we go. That's what.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sounded like
something else.
There you go. I need to get my Mortal Kombat PCP. Anyways.
Just hook it to my veins.
Yeah, 8-Arc, I think that's the one that makes the fight stick that I have. The one that I put my own art and everything that I've shown you guys. But yeah, I think it's 8-Arc. Anyways, regardless, I agree with you. Another arcade stick would be kind of cool, though I don't want to replace my own because it's still just fine. Statues look cool, but you got art books.
Statues I've always had a bit of a beef with. Because it really, really depends on who's producing them, and the quality is a crapshoot. I've had collector's editions where I'm proud to have this thing up in my house, and it looks great. And like the MKX one is actually pretty nice, like the black and yellow Scorpion, gold Scorpion. I've still got the guy like prowling on top of my shelf. He looks cool. It's nice and it's stylized. Do not want the other tippy toe game version of Scorpion because that shit looks like if you breathe on it wrong, you will tip over and it will shatter. The Street Fighter V Ryu Collector's Edition statue is angled forward at his ankle so he can't fucking stand up. And no, seriously, like, well, let's say 4 or 5, but Street Fighter V. I was so glad to get that piece of shit out of my house. And the more the more horror stories I began hearing and then seeing at the NBC Infinite Collector's Edition with like gems that look like Easter eggs.
Oh,
it's
God,
a crapshoot.
I really wanted those until I saw the real thing. And I was like, ooh.
Half the fucking time, man. These things, they're overpriced pieces of shit designed to make you spend $200 and you have nothing on your shelf but profound sadness and bail afterwards. So, I mean, it's nice if they turn out nice, but it's not what I want out of a collector's edition. Now you talk about an art book. Yes, I'm always there. I love artwork. I love flipping through that shit. I love seeing it. I love seeing all the plans and the concepts. Tracks are something that I always love
See, I'm
out of
yeah.
collector's edition.
Here's the
I'm
thing
the
about
opposite.
an art
When they're
book
complete.
is
When they're complete soundtracks, not like a 5-song sampler. Fuck that
well,
shit.
there's first of all the game's soundtrack has to be good to listen to for a soundtrack to be worth having, and MK Music has not been great recently. But
oh, shut up.
but art books, like the thing is, in an ideal world, an art book would be the thing I want most from a collector's edition. The problem is, the last time they did that, it resulted in them not putting the art in the crypt too. So you only got the art if you got the art book, and that's a dick move.
See, for me, I'm the type of person that's like, believe me, I love art as well. As an artist, that's, my thing as well. But to me, I don't know. I've had my MK9 art book, and it's just sat over there, and I maybe have looked at it once. Like, it just sits there on my shelf. And I know the statues do the same, but the statues, at least when I'm walking around the house, it's like, oh, yeah, they're up there on display. They look cool. I've got them all up there with the Halo ones and all that, and to me, they look neat. They make good background dressing. But the art book just sits there.
I'm not really a big statue collector guy. Like, I like action figures because you can pose them and do shit with them, but, like, busts and stuff I've never really been into. I feel like...
I didn't think you were.
I don't know. Like,
I heard that about you.
I'm not big on, like, idle decoration.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get, like, weird times like Street Fighter 4's first one where you actually had a whole anime with the thing. And the anime was terrible, but it was a nice gesture. It was nice.
Like, my favorite, like, the collector's edition of Versus DC Universe came with that comic book drawn by Tobias.
Right.
Yep.
The collector's edition of Armageddon came with a whole DVD of, like, those bio trading card videos.
Those were cool,
It was like almost every character in the game got a little, like, developer interview thing. I enjoyed those.
I also like the little
roster
roster
kind of stuff
thing.
I'd like to see. I don't need, like, a big... like $250 chunk of plastic that takes up space on my shelf.
I don't mind trinkets, but they've got to like feel good, like something I'm actually proud to own. A piece of the world. You know who's really good at that? Like Rockstar. Rockstar do good collector's editions if you're into that kind of shit. Like for Red Dead Redemption, they gave you like a whole map and their Grand Theft Auto stuff. They gave you a goddamn lockbox with GTA 4. That was really cool. So I don't know. You give me like something out of Shang Tsung's Flesh Pits or like Shao Kahn's hammer or some shit. I don't know. I'd be totally down.
Yeah, for me it'd have to be like one of the Halos. Doesn't it come with a Master Chief's helmet?
Yep, I got that as well.
Yeah. See, give me Shao Kahn's helmet. Give me something I can wear.
I agree with I agree with that in the sense that when I think statues, I'm not asking for another Sub-Zero or Scorpion statue. God knows we don't need another same thing of the same characters that we've had forever. I want something to display, like you guys are saying. I think Shao Kahn's helmet or one of the Cyborg's helmets would be an awesome thing, or Katana's fan, or what. I mean, you could do so many with the weapons that they have and shit like that you could display up on your wall.
Oh
if I'm paying like $300, I want it to be large enough to fit on my body. I want it to be a piece of clothing.
Oh shit, son. MK Ninja masks, and every retail chain gets a unique one.
There you go.
Pre-order at Play.com for your exclusive noob mask, available nowhere else. It's just a black balaclava. That's all it is.
No, I agree with you, though. I think Shao Kahn's helmet or something like that would be badass. I mean, I don't need to wear it. I see where the appeal is for that. But even if it's just a display up there and it's like life-size, I think that in itself would be really, really badass. So I just want something different. I want something unique. I want them to be creative and not always have it centered on one character. To me, that's the problem, is it's always Scorpion-related and maybe Sub-Zero. That's it.
Smoke Man with the Thunder, a replica of Shinnok's amulet would be the perfect slice
of
life.
I would put that shit on a chain and wear it all the time.
that would go on my goddamned wall, is where that would go.
Yeah.
Seriously. I'm kind of amazed that there's been no official replica of that thing made.
Yeah, if there was a Shinnok's amulet, I would wear that shit every day like Flava Flav's clock.
What the hell? I believe you would.
And we're back to the Nethercast featuring Razor. Yeah, boy!
Water buffalo.
Holy shit.
Anyways. All right, well, we went on that point quite heavily, so we'll move on here. But yeah, I think
Well, we have a lot to say about it. It's
yeah.
refreshing. This is a.
It is good. I hope they listen to something like that, because whoever is choosing the item that's included and the fact that it's always Scorpion, I just come on. There's more
how many
characters.
Scorpions can we have? Honestly,
That's the one thing I don't want. I'll take anything else but another Scorpion centered item.
I do not want a booby mouse pad unless, dear audience, Devora.
There you go. Devora's pretty.
so it should just be actually made out of like a hard carapace. It shouldn't work as a mouse pad.
It should feel uncomfortable and vaguely slimy if I put my hand underneath. It's like Cell's egg.
It should
just feel really, really gross.
It should be like a replica of her stomach, but it's like a sex toy.
Oh, who am I kidding? I'd take it if it was Sindel. Next question.
All right. Evan K asks, building on the discussion of potential adventure games, spiritual successors to Shaolin monks, what would be your ideal MK adventure game in terms of cast, story, and time in the universe? I think we discussed this recently. Personally, I'd like to see Smoke and Kuai Liang coming through the ranks of the Lin Kuei, Bai Han. Yeah, we discussed this, actually. I think we discussed this last episode or the one before that. I know we tackled this recently because we all said the characters we wanted focus on.
Yeah.
So we'll move on.
I'm just going to say that, like, I too have always wanted the Smoke and Sub-Zero co-op fighting game, but I'll always reiterate my desire for Katana, Melina, and Jade game.
There are, again, like I said last time, there are some great things you could do with Sub and Smoke or Katana and Melina and Jade as far as like exploring their past, their backstories. It's just I don't trust them to do it well anymore, so I would want an adventure game to take place in the present after MKX. And then they can do whatever they want with the story and we don't have to worry about contradiction.
Oh wait, I've got it. Baraka Babysitting Simulator 2018. Send me your money.
What if it's that game? Oh man,
crowdfund that shit.
What is it?
A game that takes place in the Malibu universe.
No,
that's something we haven't seen yet. Yeah.
There's a game on Steam that's like Who's Your Daddy or something like that, where one player is a baby and the other player is like the father, and it's just really cheaply made. And the baby's there purposely to go and try and find hazardous things in the house to basically harm themselves on, and the dad has to quickly run around and try and like safety lock everything and close the oven and pick up everything. So that could be Baraka.
Smokeman asks, wasn't Tobias going to make a Baraka adventure game? The answer to this was that yes, that was in the theoretical planning stages. Around the time like Mythologies came out, there were plans for a series of mythology games, and some names that they tossed around were like Baraka, Goro, and I think Scorpion and Liu Kang.
It was
something like that.
I specifically remember an interview where, when Mythologies was coming out, someone asked, what other characters would you like to do this kind of game for? And he said Liu Kang and Baraka.
Yeah.
But he didn't specify if he had like an idea for what that would be. I think those are just like characters he was interested in the most at the time.
Man, if I could just bring that guy back and have him give Baraka something fucking interesting to do, you know I'd be shit.
It wouldn't just be like, what can you do with the guy? Like I feel like Tobias is a creative person, but I look at Baraka and I'm like, drawing a blank, man.
I feel like Tobias kind of had places he wanted to go with him, but he probably just gave up after 4.
I feel like he gave up on Baraka before that.
Maybe. What do we do to make him interesting? Slice him in half? Then they forget to add this part of the story in half.
All right, at this time, if anybody wants to come on the show, just go ahead and post the purple eggplant in the message to come on the show if you're interested. We'll answer a couple more things while we wait. If not, we'll wrap this up. Randy Cool asks, have you already discussed this? I don't remember. What's your favorite piece of music from the MK series? I think we did discuss this.
Yeah, I
It's
think so.
it's always the kind of thing that I'll probably give like 6 different answers depending on when I'm asked, or
Yeah.
but like if you ask me right now what music is going through my mind when you say Mortal Kombat, I very often come away with the Portal/Khan's Arena theme from MK2. So maybe that's my answer for today. I don't know.
Mine would be the MK1 select screen music. I always kind of go to that.
Yeah, I always go with the MK1 select music.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we got Snake Eyes queued up first. Let's see. Looks like he just went into the other chat, so there we go. All right,
Purple
Snake
penis.
Eyes. Snake Eyes, you're coming on. I'm giving you the little go ahead here. Give me a second. What's up, bud?
How you guys doing?
Doing good?
Yeah.
What's up?
So we had this discussion in the Discord a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was kind of fun, maybe a little exercise.
Sure.
Taking characters that haven't worked in one way from like either a visual perspective or a design perspective, and figuring out how they could be updated and brought back, kind of like we've had with Stryker, Ermac, all those guys. So we were talking about Draman. How do you make Draman not suck as a character?
How do you make Draman not suck?
Well,
It's a tricky thing because I never thought that his concept was bad.
I don't think
He sucked because he was, yet again, another grunt in a fucking sea of grunts, and he was attached to a half-neutered concept. You give him shit to do. You build up that warrior background. You make him a character. You make him interact with people, and not, grr, I would like to eat people because I am an Oni.
Yeah, here's the weird thing about Draman's story is that, like, specifically, he wears that mask to make himself more intelligent, because without it, he's a monster. Like, he's insane because he's been in hell for too long. But in the game, he still acts like a dumb monster even when he's wearing the mask. Like, he should actually act like a person when the mask is on. He should be able to hold a conversation and have ideas.
They gave him all of this lore, pages and pages of lore and concept stage, and just didn't fucking do anything with it.
Right, so here's the thing, right? Smokeman says Draman doesn't suck. And you guys are right. He doesn't suck as a concept, as an idea, but his execution was terrible. And that's probably not his fault, right? He came into a game where NRS was trying something new with the whole like Tekken style a little bit.
Yeah.
And everybody had like 1 or 2 special moves. So like he came in a very limited game. So if he was redone again today, I'm sure he'd be better. But like, how would you update that concept, right? Like,
I mean, I think, first of all, you have to start with his alternate costume, where he's actually, like, wearing the mummy wraps. Because, like, the naked guy thing wasn't working. Like, we have Meat and Blaze. There's already too many characters that don't wear, like, any clothes other than, like, a pair of underwear, and it's just weird. So, yeah, you have to have, like, an outfit on him to start with. But I like the raw meat angle where he doesn't have any skin and there are like weapons sticking out of him at random, and like I like it that the club doesn't come off. Like, that's just his hand. His hand has been amputated and there's a club there now. That adds to the torture victim look of him without where there's the no skin and the weapon sticking out of him.
see, I never liked the club hand. I always thought it just looked kind of funky. I know he's supposed to imitate those Oni from Japanese mythology that have like a giant like studded club or whatever.
I would make the club more stylized. Like, there is a way to make it look cooler. But like, I wouldn't touch the fact that he has no skin. I think that's good. I wouldn't touch the design of the mask. I think it looks perfect the way it is.
I'd make the mask lore actually matter to the guy's storyline, because that was by far the most intriguing thing about the character. Okay, if he doesn't have the mask on, he goes insane with rage.
So why not make that like a berserker move?
Yeah.
Like, what if he had that as a move? He just takes off the mask and goes berserk.
Yeah, it should be like a status he goes into, like some of Jason's walk moves or whatever, where he starts glowing and change the properties, or like it should be something he does before his fatalities takes the mask off, maybe. But like,
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
the biggest problem with Drawman, going back to Deadly Alliance when he was introduced, is that because they were experimenting with their style system, they had this utterly retarded idea of not giving him any combo strings at all. He's nothing but single punch and like one hit move. He has no combo potential.
I remember
And
going through this conquest and just hating it.
The only moves,
terrible.
if you wanted to like not take half an hour to play a Drawman match, then you had to do the helicopter swing or his throw over and over again, because those were 3-hit combos, and those were the only combos he had.
I think the ball of flies is a good idea, but I never liked him just shooting out like a ball of flies.
The ball
It
of
was
flies,
so.
I always thought it'd be cool if he like took the mask off and like breathed like a torrent of flies on you, or like locusts or something.
that
It's
might
the
be
kind of
thing
thing
is-
that would just make a lot more sense if it were kind of like Reptile's Poison Mist, where if you're near the guy, they damage you or something. Because
yeah.
actually throwing a ball of flies, when you think about it, is what's the word?
Retarded.
There's no substance. It's like when Nitara and Scarlet throw the ball of blood. It's a water balloon. That wouldn't hurt. But a ball of flies is even less impact than that because there's no physical mass. You're being hit with like a gust of air that happens to have some flies around it.
Even
doesn't
when it
make
hits them,
sense.
even when it hits them, they're like, bah, gross.
Yeah,
Doesn't
and like
damage, they're just mildly inconvenienced.
the real problem with the flies was that it was obnoxious. You'd play a Drawman match and there'd be this buzzing noise the entire match. And like they've obviously figured out how to not do that because Devora has flies buzzing around her and it's not annoying.
Right.
So my question though is, if Devora now has the flies, doesn't that kind of take them away from Drawman?
It does, but here's the thing that you mentioned earlier that I really like is that he had weapons sticking out of him because he's a torture victim. Use those as his new projectiles. Give him like a spear that he can like pull out of his shoulder. He's got the 2 swords sticking in his back. Let him use those. I said like give him like a throwing axe or something that he can like pull out of his rib cage and like use that as a projectile. Like if he's got weapons already sticking in his body, make him like a weapon master and have him like use them in like combos and as special moves and strings.
That would be something. Like another thing you could do is, so in his backstory, Drawman is specifically in charge of torturing people in hell. You know, like that's the point of hell. Dead people go there to be tortured because they were bad in life. Drawman's in charge of that. So, first of all, he's kind of an important person in the Netherrealm hierarchy. Like, he probably should have been in X, like working for Shinnok.
That would have been nice. But he got killed off in the comic.
Yeah, but
more.
on top of that, there's probably something you could do there with his moves, where like maybe he has a fatality where he summons a torture rack out of the ground and straps you to it, and it's sort of like Sector's scarecrow thing from 9. Or maybe he could have a weapon that's like one of those whips made of like a bunch of like a cat of nine tails. It's like 9 whips on the same handle, and they're all like spiky. He could have something like that.
So give him something more like a Tyrant Cenobite thing going?
Yeah, like...
Does he come with the puzzle box too? That'd be kind of funny.
I would definitely use him as a means to push the Hellraiser aspects of the Netherrealm.
Yeah, he actually kind of fits a lot of potential horror archetypes if you look at him in that kind of light. He's got the mummy wraps. He's got like the Marquis de Sade BDSM thing going on. His appearance in the roster is kind of a satisfying thing in and of itself, and I do consider him very much a lost opportunity among the direct that was MKDA.
I think his mask needs a bit of a redesign. I think you should keep it. I think it should be the same color, but I think it needs to have like the Hanya horns or like something that looks a bit more Oni.
Well, you know, there's an interesting thing in the mobile game where there are 2 versions of his mask that are available as like those little card power-ups you equip. And one of them's just the regular mask, and one of them's like a powered-up version where there's like glowing, smoky energy versions of horns growing out of certain parts of the mask.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think that would be a cool thing. Like, you could do that either as like a variation signifier or as a sign that he's powered up in one of his moves. Like the horns are out of energy.
Yeah, so
But like I like the base mask just the way it is. That cross between like a
it looks like a tiki mask,
Pacific
man.
tiki idol and a Japanese kabuki mask. I like that design of it.
This is the first time I've actually ever looked at the mobile version of the mask. This is nice. I like it.
Yeah, they redesigned the teeth on the mask too to make it a little more like a Japanese Oni mask. But
yeah,
other
there's
than
just something about the Hanya
the same.
that I always liked. That aesthetic was always pretty cool. So it'd be nice to see it go into that direction, or at least evoke a bit more of that club Oni feel that he's supposed to be based on. Maybe even give him like the prayer beads, the chain of prayer beads that a lot of them have.
Yeah. See, there's cool stuff you can do with Drummond. Like, I've always liked the character, and it bothers me that he's like on Ed's fuck you list.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential, but when in execution, he just kind of came off as a wet fart.
Yeah.
On that note, we got MK Trilogy waiting. Thanks for coming on, Snake Eyes.
Yeah, that was
good discussion.
fun.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
See you later.
Cheers.
Later.
All right, let me switch him out here. And blah. Okay. He should be good. MK Trilogy, you there?
We're live, right?
We are live.
Let's do it
In
live.
living color.
Do it live.
What's up?
Drummond for MK11. Boom, that's it. Nah, but seriously.
Sign the petition. Change.org.
I'll be the first one. On grounds of Hellboy. If you're gonna half-ass Hellboy, might as well half-ass Drummond. But anyways. So I brought this up in the Discord, I think a few days ago, and I never really got a clear answer. It just kind of got washed up in the conversation. It happens sometimes.
Sorry.
So I figured, no, it's cool, it's cool. So I figured now would be a good time to bring it up. So since we're entering into, I guess, this altered 3D era into this timeline, I know Razor is petitioning for Onaga because of course.
I am. I'm a big fan of the Dragon King.
Right. So we're entering into the 3D era, and Blaze technically, it was introduced as a playable character in Deadly Alliance, so that they could bring him back here. And I was thinking about it, and how Blaze is very much connected to the brothers, and then that is connected to the pyramid, and it all sort of ties together. You need all of these things to be there in order for this specific event to take place. So, what would it mean for the story if Blaze was somehow found beforehand by, I don't know, maybe Raiden, or it could be Onaga, it could be anyone, but just hypothetically, what if he was found, defeated, and then killed? Wouldn't that imply that Taven couldn't be awoken, thus the pyramid couldn't be summoned? What would that entail for the story, do you think? And is that something you would like to see?
Yeah, that's something that I've talked about going all the way back to like on the message boards when MK9 came out. When, the game came out, the whole plot is about Raiden trying to prevent Armageddon, and my whole argument was, but killing Shao Kahn has nothing to do with Armageddon. It only stops him from winning. The event is still going to occur.
It's taking one character out of the entire menagerie. Blaze is still out there.
Yeah.
Taven is going to wake up eventually. That call is going to be made, and that pyramid's fucking rising.
Yeah. My argument was always that the only way to prevent Armageddon is to find Blaze before Taven is woken up and kill him early. I think that it would work. I think that if you got to him before he turned into like the giant lava monster and killed him then, that there would be no prize, that it would actually cancel out the entire quest. And I think that's the only way that makes sense to prevent Armageddon from happening. Because NetherRealm Studios' position seems to be that if Armageddon happens, it will be the end of the realms. I don't necessarily agree with that. I can easily imagine a world where you could have just made a sequel after Armageddon, where Blaze was defeated, the world didn't end, and everybody went back to their lives. I think there would have been a way to write that, but the games seem to say, no, if the pyramid comes up, that's going to lead to the end of the realms, that the universe is going to be destroyed somehow. So, the only way to save the realms would be to prevent Armageddon, to not let it get there. And the only way I can imagine for doing that is to destroy Blaze ahead of time. Like, find him early and take him out of the equation.
It brings up so many questions, because like you said, they could have easily used Armageddon in a different light. Like, they didn't have to completely reboot, and you could have still killed off, like chopped off the extra fat and left what you wanted. But since they painted themselves into a corner, it's like, well, now this specific thing has to be prevented, and yet, it's just so unclear. Like, why haven't you gone after Blaze yet? You see the future, don't you?
It seems like Raiden's memories, because he was just getting flashes, maybe he doesn't understand that Blaze exists, that Blaze is important. Like, he doesn't seem to have that information. But the other element of it is that Armageddon told us that Blaze was somehow necessary, that this war was always destined to happen. Like, Delia foresaw the end of the world, and they created Blaze to try and change it or prevent it. The problem with that is that we know Delia's vision was of the Armageddon that happens. Blaze was there. The pyramid was there. She created the future she foresaw. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Which means that the end of the world only happened because Argus and Delia were trying to prevent it. It's ironic, but that means that if you did destroy Blaze ahead of time and prevent the pyramid from ever rising, everything would be perfectly safe.
I've been thinking about it a little bit recently, and I'm starting to think that their entire decision to kill Shao Kahn, rather than obviously going to the root of the problem, Blaze, was intentional from the beginning, in case they ever really wanted to revisit that time period and do something else with it. I think that they just kind of tried to pass off the notion of Shao Kahn being killed as solving everything, and they know it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
It bothers me when the characters in the story I'm watching are dumber than I am.
See, what's really interesting, though, is that if any of them smarten up, let's say this scenario does happen, again, we've been led to believe this entire reboot depends on the idea that Armageddon is inevitable. So if we supposedly prevent Armageddon as it was, then where does that leave the series? Do they even know where to go from there?
I would imagine it leaves you in the same place that you were in, when you came up with Deadly Alliance, when you came up with Deception, when you came up with MKX. You have a blank slate, make some new stories. Life goes on. There's no end of the world. That's not a real thing. People are born, live their lives, die, more people are born. Nothing ever really ends.
There's a wealth of fictional history in the Mortal Kombat universe that they can draw from at any point that they actually want to. There's not that there's a shortage of things to work with. They could do their fucking prequel game if they wanted to. what would be in it would be another story, but I mean, there's so much room to explore. Chaos Realm, Sado. Do a whole fucking game that takes place in the Netherrealm. Be about a struggle for power. Do a game full of bad guys. And Sub-Zero and Scorpion, because you know.
Like, Mortal Kombat, yeah, we're coming up on the 11th game, but the series is not really any older than... I mean, it's slightly younger than Street Fighter. It's younger than, like, Mario and Zelda, and those you know, there's so many franchises that have coming up with new stories.
Hands up, who is getting sick of killing Ganon?
Well, there's a solution for that, and it's called the Game Boy games.
Oh, it was a rhetorical question. I'm not. Because they always find a way to make what they already have interesting.
That's true.
I love the shit out of Breath of the Wild. I did.
Zelda's a complicated example because they're kind of telling the same story over and over again every game, with twists. But I'm not bored of it.
Exactly. I did not mean for my question to sound cynical. It really was meant to be rhetorical. I am not getting tired of murdering Ganon, and I will never get tired of ripping Quan Chi's fucking head off.
Fair enough.
If we still have time, I know we're dragging on a bit, but one more quick question. I think you'll like this idea, Razor, or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll fucking hate it. But so, assuming that the comics are canon, and I've brought this up between friends like several times. All right, so
sorry.
I think they're kind of canon.
Oh
kind of canon. Well, all right.
They're canon until MK11 says otherwise.
If they say otherwise, we'll see. But
when?
They're canon in spirit, like how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. claims to be canon to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, no, I don't see that. Yeah, but... Alright, so... Basically, this is the question here. So, if Goro is supposedly the new catalyst of Onaga, are we going to see a super Shokin Onaga?
Well,
how would you feel about that? Just out of curiosity,
I mean,
since you're the Onaga fan.
It would be interesting. I think there's a potential for a cool design there. Lore-wise, it doesn't necessarily make sense because we know from Deception and Armageddon that, like, Onaga, when he possesses someone, they turn into what he looked like. Like, Reptile didn't become a reptile version of Onaga, he just became Onaga. Like, the body in the tomb that died tens of thousands of years ago, that used to be Onaga, looks exactly the same as possessed Reptile.
Well, weren't there interviews that were trying to write it off as, like, the reason Reptile kept, like, de-evolving was because of the possession? Like, I've heard that several times.
Well, yeah, they do. There is, like, a vague thing going on in Deadly Alliance and Deception where, like Deadly Alliance tells that, like, Reptile was devolving because he was separated from his species for too long, that they have, like, a matriarch who has magic who controls the evolution of the members of their race or some shit.
That's what I still go with.
Because he was the last of his kind and he'd been separated from all the others, he was devolving. The thing is, the game also says that's just a theory that Nitara has. It's not necessarily true. So when he gets possessed in Deception, they also hint that maybe he was devolving because Onaga was planning to use him as a vessel and was somehow magically changing him so that it would be easier to transform his body.
And to the credit of that theory, he does seem to be normal when you see him after that period.
Yeah. When he gets freed from Onaga in Armageddon, he's back to looking the way he does in Shaolin Monks and MK4. Because that... And this is something that sometimes people on the internet get wrong. They think that MK2 is like his true form, and the devolution started at MK4. Nuh-uh. MK2 and 3 is a disguise he's wearing so that people will mistake him for human. MK4 is
he
what he's
takes the
supposed to
mask
look
off
like
and-
without the disguise. Yeah.
I argue with that about a lot of people, and I know I'm the minority, but I've always preferred him to look more reptilian because, I mean, it's in the name. Like, that would be the obvious next step for design.
A lot of people just want them all to be basic human ninjas that look like Power Rangers. I like it when the dude's got a tail.
I don't necessarily need a tail, but I do like it when he's got the scales. Like, the thing about the human disguise is, I would love to see it in MK9 as a primary costume. Not as both costumes, but as a primary. But in terms of, like, telling a story, if you're in disguise, the moment you take off the disguise and everybody sees what you really look like, you can't go back. So it would really only be good for half of the story.
You know, you could have given Shao Kahn a line like, "Why are you still wearing that?" "Oh, they won't let me into the dining room hall without it. It's like a catheter. I have to keep my face out of the public space."
It's I have questions about how that disguise works, by the way. Is he changing his skin color, or is he wearing human flesh?
I've always gone with human flesh, personally.
Well, I mean, Scorpions doesn't make any more sense. Like,
Well, no, Scorpion is a supernatural being. Like, that's not a disguise. That's his body. It's just that whenever he wants, he can peel it off.
For Scorpion, I kind of like the fact that
it's shown in the same vein, though. Granted, everything was the same in the original trilogy, but still.
Yeah, but the story-wise, it was different. Scorpion, that's his skin, and he can just rip it off because he's a zombie man. Reptile, his skin is the scales, and the human look is something he's wearing over top.
It's worth for Scorpion. I actually really liked that brief 0.5 of a second in the MK1 movie where you actually saw, as he took off the mask, his head shifted into a skull form.
Yeah, they did put like a shapeshift effect as he's pulling the mask off. That was always kind of creepy to me.
Oh no, I thought it looked pretty badass. Reptile in the movies, though, I don't even know.
Well,
Reptile in the movies is the result of the audience feeling that there wasn't enough fights, and so he was literally tossed in at the last minute.
Just like the game.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know if that covers the bad CG'd reptilian form.
Yeah, no, I think the bad CG creature was always in. Like, I don't know why they went that way. That was just the movie being the movie. Like, in the movie, why is Scorpion's spear a snake? His name is Scorpion. That's
Snake-peen.
It's supposed to be like a stinger, not a lizard creature. That doesn't make sense.
Well, Mortal Kombat isn't always known for making sense, so...
No, especially not the movies.
I like that time when Jax grew big and done stepped on a dude.
Yeah, what? No, okay, seriously, what was that? What the hell?
Those are Pym particles. He's a scientist, man.
Just like Goku's old man. Brilliant scientist.
There's a reason we never saw that fatality again. Now, Scorpion turning into an actual Scorpion, on the other hand, I'll accept that. They got it wrong the first time, but they made up for it.
You know what? I like that fatality.
Why did Shiva have that? Why?
Because
Scorpion was not around. That's the real answer. We all know that.
Well, now my question is, during the development of MK3, they had to have known they were going to make Ultimate, because there's only like a year after that it came out. I
think that they might have planned for Ultimate, but they didn't really know who or what they were going to introduce, because they left Scorpion because they didn't know that they were going to bring him back right away.
I don't know. I feel like they should have seen it coming.
So why would they even take that risk?
Yeah.
See, at that point, like, they were not operating under the illusion that Scorpion and Sub-Zero were the creme de la creme, most famous characters. You know, they were starting to get that implication, yeah. But at that point in time, they were still looking at the main cast as being like Johnny and Sonya.
There weren't
Holy
any
Trinity.
There weren't any poster boys necessarily, but he was still a part of it. Like,
he was still a part of it, but like this is still dating from a time where like Raiden could take a game off. People were like shuffleable.
Honestly,
you didn't see Liu Kang disappear for 4 games because he was the main character. It was a shock when they killed him in DA. No one thought that shit was going to happen.
But it was a necessary
still argue
shock.
that
I would very necessary. Absolutely.
I would still argue that Raiden can take a game off any fucking time and nobody will care.
There have been a group of people, and I'm not sure they were the minority once. They might be, they're probably still the minority. But there's been a group of people that have wanted Raiden to take a game off since Deadly Alliance, and he still hasn't.
I would not complain
say
if he
that
did.
if anything, sentiment against Raiden has definitely grown since MK9.
That's a fair way of putting it.
Well, like,
because again, it comes back to what I was saying about, like, I don't like it when I'm, like, watching something and the characters are dumber than I am. And Midway / NetherRealm keeps doing that kind of story. Like, in Deception, you can tell that Damashi's tricking you way before Shujinko figures it out. In fact, he never figures it out. He gets told. Like, the trap is sprung on him and he falls for it. In Shaolin Monks, it's obvious from the beginning that Shang Tsung is pretending to be Raiden. But Liu and Kung Lao never figure it out. In MK9, the entire story is about us knowing stuff Raiden doesn't know and him screwing up as he tries to figure it out.
See that, and that's the thing, is like, you have these examples of the different games and their protagonists, you know, not knowing when we obviously do. But the problem with the new timeline is it's the entire cast.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Right, so I think I overstayed my welcome. Thank you for letting me
No, it was good. We covered some good ground.
I think Cyborg fell asleep is what I think happened.
Did he?
Well, thanks for coming on, MK Trilogy community. I was just waiting until I heard no talking. Thanks for coming on. You had a lot of good knowledge. You should join them on the Lost sometime. I think you'd be a good addition to that.
Would now be a good time to
awesome.
Yep. Anyways, so we'll wrap this up.
I should probably attach a footnote here now, and now we're about to end things. So we are very bound and determined now to give the people what they want, and what the people have wanted for quite some time now has been a new episode of The Lost. And I've got I mentioned this in the chat and in Facebook, but I've got my audio recording troubleshooting problems finished, and they're fixed, and I can record stuff now. So Razor and I are hopefully looking at next week to record our first episode of The Lost in a really long time. True to MK9 history, we're going to reboot it from scratch. And the question will be, who shall win? Tune in to find out.
All right. Well, on that note, see you guys later, and see you in a couple weeks. And we're getting closer and closer to that MK11 announcement, so stay tuned. We should have a lot more content coming up once we get into the season again of news. So take care, guys. Thanks for listening. Once again, you can check out the Discord, testyourmight.com, Facebook, all that good stuff. See you later.
Thanks for being with us through this dry spell, folks. We love you. Mwah.
Good night, everybody.
Fatality.